Step out of the way. Behind me over here, you can see there's still some police vehicles. A lot fewer police vehicles than we had earlier. There's still police crime scene team up in front of us, and also just before you get to the block where Virginia's on King is. The situation itself, the incident is over, but the investigation is just beginning. Again, we're trying to find out. We know one person has died, possibly an employee of the restaurant. A bartender for Holy City Hospitality who works for the restaurant group told me he believes the chef was shot, that was the person who was shot. And we know that the gunman was shot. The interim police chief, Jerome Taylor, said police tried to talk the guy out, but he said you have an active shooter, and that's where they had to go in. Apparently a stun grenade to startle the guy was thrown in there first, and then police went in. They shot the suspect. He was taken to the hospital. The person who died was also taken to the hospital and supposedly died there. And the other hostage who was in there has been released and is okay. And again, the investigation continues. This totally closed off the upper part of King Street here earlier today. When this all happened, the police, the sheriff's office, and all the agencies did a great job closing off a very popular, busy area of King Street where a lot of tourists, a lot of people go to the restaurants and the shops. And it's just fortunate that there was no other loss of life. I guess it's appropriate that it's raining here this afternoon because there is a lot of sadness that one person has died from the shooting. We're going to have team coverage with Raphael James and myself coming up at Live 5 News first at 4, starting in 1 second.
Live 5 News starts now with breaking news.
That breaking news, folks, in case you're just joining us, there was an active shooter at Virginia's restaurant downtown. He has shot and killed one person, and then police stormed the restaurant and shot and wounded him. He's in critical condition. The good news is people who were in the restaurant at the time were not hurt. They were allowed to leave the building. The gunman said you could get out, and of course they did get out.
Raphael James is on the scene, and we'll hear from him right now.
We will hear from him momentarily, Debbie. In the meantime, we learned from city police that they decided to go into the building, Lisa, and they shot the suspect. We don't know if he had one hostage or if all the hostages had been released. He was shot and he was taken to the hospital.
Yeah, it is amazing to hear what these customers, these patrons, diners who were inside at the time were hearing a little bit at a time, trickle of information about what happened, what it was like being inside, and have this person coming in, obviously upset with a gun, ordered everyone down, then ordered everyone out the back, came and locked the front of the door, obviously shooting someone as well. Our Alexis Simmons not too far from the scene down at Marion Square. King Street still closed off to traffic, but we're going to send things to her right now.
Yeah, so right now things are actually clear over here in Marion Square, as we know, because that hostage scene has been wrapping up from some of the police that left the scene. But of course, that investigation is still continuing. But earlier today, I was talking with construction workers who worked nearby, who cleared the scene as well. They heard gunshots, in addition to seeing people running, and of course, they got out of their scene at the time because they were not sure how safe it was going to be. But Harv Jacobs actually talked to some people who were inside at the time of this hostage situation, and I was going through some of that sound. Now here's a man from Mount Pleasant who was inside, Bill Rosine. Listen to what he had to say about what happened.
Very nervous, and just thinking of all the things we've heard in the news lately with the gunmen and shootings, and just here we are right in the middle of it. So we did what he said. We got on the floor, and then we exited out the back, just shaking a little bit.
And another person who was actually inside at the time said that he actually worked at a bank, and he's been in hostage situations 3 other times where he's had a gun pointed at him or in the situation he was in. And he was very, it was hard to describe the situation, but he was very shaken by what had happened as well. Of course, no one wants to be inside trying to eat lunch and something like this happens. But I'll send it over to Raphael James, who's also out here on the scene at this time. I'm live in Marion Square. Alexis Simmons, Live 5 News.
King Street is normally very busy this time of the afternoon, but from Calhoun to Vanderhorst is blocked off to traffic. Police are standing guard. If you see, I'll walk over here and you can see this officer has blocked the sidewalk. We're just a block away from Virginia on Kings, where this shooting happened and where the hostage situation occurred. No one is allowed to go through there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a big van there. That van has been there for a while, and I'm assuming they're using it to, they're working out of it as they investigate the scene, investigate what happened. As you know, a disgruntled employee, from what we're told, walked into the restaurant, Virginia's on King, at a very busy lunchtime and ordered everyone on the floor. One employee, one person inside of that restaurant was shot. He then told everyone they could leave. Everyone except, I understand, one other person who was in the restaurant. And throughout the course of the afternoon, the Charleston Police Department responded. They were in active shooter mode. They have certain protocols that they use within that mode, and they tried to negotiate with the shooter. They tried to get him out, get him to come out peacefully. When that didn't work, the SWAT team was ordered to go in and do what they had to do, and of course they took him down. He has been taken to the hospital in critical condition. One person is dead. We don't have any IDs on any of the victims of the suspect or any of the hostages or so-called hostages who were let go at this point. What we do know, though, is that this situation has been resolved. We will have more information throughout the afternoon as it becomes available. Several College of Charleston students were in the area earlier wondering what was going on with their cell phones out. Helicopters were overhead. SWAT team was here from North Charleston and other agencies as well. But for now, the situation is resolved. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Mayor Tecklenburg confirmed earlier that the person who was shot at the restaurant was the chef at the restaurant. As you heard from the news conference, unfortunately, one person has died. The suspect himself was shot and wounded by city police and is in critical condition. This all started at 12:17. Police got the call at 12:21. They were so quick to the scene, they got there at 12:23. 2 minutes later, that's when they determined that there was an active shooter in Virginia's restaurant on King who may at that time have already shot the chef.
We're going to send it to Sydney Ryan, who is live in the area right now with more information. Sydney, what do you have for us right now?
Debbie, I actually just finished speaking to a mother and her son. They're from the D.C. area, and they visit Charleston every year. They had an 11:30 reservation at Virginia's on King. You can see it right here behind me. They were there with a bunch of their family all on vacation. They said right around noon, the entire kitchen staff sprinted towards the front of the building and ran out the doors. At that time, they said a man wearing a white polo, a white, what looked like a kitchen apron, and a backwards cap stepped in and said, "There's a new boss now." He then told everyone to get to the ground. The son claimed that he told them to not try and escape, but everyone said at that time they were on the ground and they all crawled out. Now, when I spoke to them about it, they were very shocked because they were separated. Half their family ran right, half their family ran to the left, so they were very scared, but fortunately, everyone was able to get out safely, and they do say that they still do love Charleston, and they're very thankful that everything turned out that the way they are. And obviously, throughout our coverage, I'll have more sound from them, or we're working to send that back to the studio. But for now, reporting in downtown Charleston, I'm Sydney Ryan, Live 5 News.
So let's wrap it up. Exactly what happened for those who were just joining us right now, Debbie.
There was a gunman who entered Virginia's on King Street, which is a restaurant at King Street at Hudson, also right near Marion Square, right off King Street, catty corner from the Francis Marion Hotel. He went in apparently about 12:17 this afternoon, said there is a new new boss in town, and ordered the kitchen staff out, and obviously told the patrons there, the restaurant people who were there in the restaurant, to get down on the ground. They crawled out the back door, and one person was shot and killed, and the gunman held others hostage, or at least one other person hostage.
And the mayor said earlier that the person who was shot was the chef at the restaurant, Lisa.
Yeah, we have reached out to the coroner's office to find a name of this person who was killed in today's violence. The coroner's office says they have yet to get back to us on that, but we know that one person has died. Charleston police tell us that one person has died from their injuries. 2 people were shot, and the suspect was one of the 2, was shot by Charleston police. We saw a video of that suspect. Likely, we can conclude it was the suspect being rushed out, taken by ambulance to the hospital at last check in critical condition.
The mayor is saying the suspect has a history of mental health challenges.
Our continuing coverage on this throughout the afternoon of this shooting, this hostage situation, which is now over. But there's also another story to talk about, and that is the weather. Let's go now to the Weather Center from Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. Yeah, you probably...
Welcome back, everybody, to our continuing coverage of breaking news. There was a shooter downtown at Virginia's restaurant. He was a disgruntled employee there, a dishwasher, according to city officials. He went in and shot the chef, according to the mayor of Charleston. Then the city police came in and they shot the suspect. He now is in critical condition in the hospital. Thank goodness all the customers at Virginia's restaurant on King are safe. I'm here with Lisa Weissman, and Lisa, you've got some new information that you want to bring us right now.
Well, very scary situation for all those people, too, being held hostage. There was a small number, according to Charleston City Police, that were being held hostage. This is the latest statement from Charleston Police. Here we go. It says, actually, this is from the city of Charleston. The active shooter situation in the 400 block of King Street inside the Virginia's on King restaurant has been resolved. The gunman has been shot and transported for medical attention in critical condition. The individual who was held hostage has been removed from the building safely. One shooting victim transported from the scene earlier this afternoon has died. Charleston County Dispatch received the initial call in reference to the shooting today at 12:17 p.m. The shooter is known to have been a disgruntled employee. That is from the spokesperson for the city of Charleston there. So you can take a lot from that and break it all down here. But we know at the end of the day, one person has died after being shot by this suspect. The suspect himself was shot by Charleston police, and there were some hostages, a small number of hostages who all made it out okay.
The mayor said the shooter had mental health issues, and the mayor also said, this is Mayor Tecklenburg we're talking about, of the city of Charleston, that the person who was shot by the shooter was the chef at the restaurant. Now, I want you to listen to what one person has to say who was inside Virginia's restaurant on King Street this afternoon when this all went down. Listen to this.
We were eating lunch. Next thing I know, the waitresses and kitchen staff started to go out the front door. A man came out. He was holding a revolver in his hand. Walked up to the front door, locked it, told everybody to get down. We all got on the floor. After that, he said everybody to the back of the building. And as soon as we got to the back behind where the bar is, there's 2 open doors, and people started running out the doors, and he just told, I was the last one, and he told me to get out, and I went out the door, and that was it.
He went out the door, and you can't blame him, as that was it. To summarize again, the hostage situation, the shooting situation, the active shooter situation is over. It ended about an hour ago. The shooter was wounded by Charleston police who went into Virginia's restaurant, shot him. The shooter is in critical condition. As Lisa just said, unfortunately, one person has been shot dead by the shooter. Lisa?
It is astounding to me just how cool some of these cooler heads obviously prevail with some of these witnesses. Speaking of, we have new sound right now just in from apparently the mother of the person who was being held hostage by that suspect.
All the kitchen staff ran out the front door. We didn't know what was happening. And then the man who we now know is the shooter came from the back and said, there's a new boss in town. And he went to the front door. And at that point, I could see him holding a gun. And then he turned around and he told us to all get down. And he probably repeated it maybe 2 or 3 times. We all got down. At this point, it was very clear. It was a very scary situation. Yeah.
All right, that seems to be just a witness who was inside at the time. A mother and son, you saw her son right there too, saying that that suspect came in and said there's a new boss in town.
Can you imagine, Lisa, how the people in the restaurant felt when this gunman comes in, this man with a gun. He locks the front door. He came in the back. He says, all right, everybody on the floor. Everybody on the floor. And then they crawled, some of them crawled according to one witness, others just ran out the back. He let them all go, we think, except for one hostage, because the mayor says we believe he was after people who worked at the restaurant, not customers themselves. In fact, he shot an employee of the restaurant when he first came in. We believe the person he shot, according to Mayor Tecklenburg, was the head chef at Virginia's on King Street. Now, this is a popular restaurant. This happened at 12:17 this afternoon. City police got the call just a few minutes later at 12:21. They were there quickly within 2 minutes at 12:23 and realized they had an active gunman situation on their hands at Virginia's on King Street. They tried to negotiate with the shooter to get him to give up peacefully. Apparently at some point that didn't work and they decided to go in. We think they may have used a flashbang grenade to scare him. They went in, they shot him. He is in critical condition. The good news is nobody else was hurt. There are conflicting reports, Lisa, as to whether or not the gunman still had one person hostage with him in Virginia's restaurant when police stormed the building.
Oh, that's something that really traumatic to be inside of that building. I would say, especially when he went up, a witness told us, and locked the front door. Someone, obviously no regard for life, locking you into a restaurant where someone has been shot, and he's obviously armed as well. So lots of people reacting, including, I want to show you a new tweet from the band Hootie and the Blowfish. Of course, lead singer Darius Rucker from our area. We are saddened to hear about what happened today in Charleston. Our thoughts are with those affected and their families.
And that's from Darius Rucker?
That is from the band Hootie and the Blowfish.
The band itself, okay. I think, Lisa, he did let all of the customers in the restaurant go, so that shows you that he had no animosity toward the people in the restaurant. We're looking at pictures right now before the scene is resolved, and that's pretty dramatic when you see the police taking cover behind their police vehicles with their guns drawn, a chopper in the air. Let me tell you who all was there. Among the agencies, the sheriff's office, look at this, city police, SLED, North Charleston Police, other agencies, the SWAT teams from both North Charleston and the city, and in fact we believe, Lisa, it was the SWAT team, according to police reporter Harv Jacobs on the scene, that actually went inside the restaurant and shot the suspect.
Yeah, we have our newsroom buzzing. All our reporters are down at the scene or otherwise working their sources here. We're still trying to figure out who the suspect is and also who was shot and killed by that suspect. Of course, we'll bring you any new updates once we learn them right here.